Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for an extra spicy legacy video. The deck list design for today's vehicle Stompy deck list comes from Grapeshot NH on Twitter, and this league is supported by Stephen A, who gave me a dealer's choice donation deck list for my birthday. All right, so we're playing with Truck Stompy here. So we're going to be playing vehicles that require you to crew them. So if it has a crew cost of 2, you need to tap creatures with total power 2 or more in order to crew these vehicles and turn them into a creature. Now, Unlicensed Hearse has been seeing some legacy play in all sorts of decks, and not just Ancient Tomb decks as well, but also decks like Blue Red Delver, trying to use this as sort of a mirror breaker, using it to keep opposing Murktide Regents and Dragon Rage Channelers in check. But we also have some more cat-themed vehicles here, like Esika's Chariot, which makes 2/2 green cat tokens when it enters play, and when it attacks, you get to copy a token that you control. So we are playing something that kind of conceptually looks kind of like a mono-red prison deck, except rather than Blood Moons, we're gunning for the islands in game 1, and we're straight up playing Choke in game 1, which is pretty spicy. And rather than have more lock pieces, we are playing the very flexible Thought-Knot Seer, which, while it's fallen off a little bit in like current legacy, like Thought-Knot Seer used to be a terror and used to see all sorts of play in Eldrazi and occasionally in some Red Prison Moon Stompy type decks as well. Notable mana based thing here, this deck does get to play Mech Hanger, which can be a source of green mana for our Esika's Chariot, while also being colorless for Thought-Knots here, but it also has the ability to tap for 3 mana to effectively just like crew a vehicle without using a creature, which is pretty nice. This is a deck list that did get a 5.0. It hasn't been published yet as of the time of this recording, but by the time this video releases, it probably will be published. And I have made a few changes to the mana base, otherwise I'm running it as it was in the 5.0. I took out the fetch lands for more copies of Mech Hanger and just adding some more forests. I didn't think that this deck needed the random thinning / life loss that having some fetches would have. I believe a previous iteration of this deck had like maybe a Ramunap Excavator or a Dryad Arbor or something where it made sense to have those fetches, and they just didn't really make sense in the current version. The other thing you could do is just play more copies of both Seiju, who endures. This land is really strong, but it is a legendary land, so I wasn't really on board with going up to more copies of this. A lot of times these decks feature the disappearing land problem of having both City of Traders and Urza's Saga, so like having a couple more legendary lands that contribute to the deck's mana base being a problem for itself seemed like a bad idea to me. Again, basic lands are good, yo. And we are also going to have Mox Opal to help stabilize the mana bases and make it so that we can actually cast our green cards. As far as the sideboard goes, of course, we have our extra copies of Choke over there, and otherwise it's mostly hate for specific matchups. Your Storm decks, your Graveyard decks, and probably Delver as well, kind of given how this looks. And otherwise, we just kind of have a few random things to round things out. Yeah, this deck should be some absolute fun nonsense, and hopefully we kill some people with some cat tokens, because honestly, that's what I'm here for. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. I'm planning on doing a giveaway when I reach 15k subs, and fingers crossed that we reach that around the end of the month. And if you're a regular, please throw me a like before this video begins. That is the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. All right, I'll be keeping this opening hand, and kind of depending on what my opponent does on turn 1, we can decide whether or not we want to lead on like a Chalice or a Thought-Knots here. I am probably going... Ooh. I would like to play Thought-Knots here prior to playing that Urza's Saga, I think. Let's play the Chalice on turn 1. Let's play out this artifact mana so that I can better play around Spell Pierce and Daze type cards. Ooh, we are getting some action. It's probably just a brainstorm. It is. All right, are we resolving? It was a good long think, but we are not resolving. So I'm giving my opponent a chance to wasteland this Ancient Tomb rather than wasteland my Urza Saga. That's not... Ooh. I like this line now. Do I play Urza Saga this turn? If I play Urza Saga this turn, like, using this Thought-Knot Seer becomes significantly more awkward. I don't think I'm going to play Urza Saga this turn. I think I am going to attempt to really, like, make my opponent expend resources on these cards and go from there. Then, like, next turn I could play Urza Saga into Thought-Knot Seer, take something like a Murktide Regent that otherwise might give me trouble, and then just try to end the game. Alright, they thought for a long time and then did an upkeep fetch. Okay, they've got a Tundra. I don't like that. See what we're working with. Okay, cool. I was kind of worried that we might just be looking at, like, a Murktide Regent coming down immediately, and that would be a, like, problem with my Ancient Tomb in hand. A Shark Typhoon revealed, sure. So, that Lotus Petal is going to chill in my hand for a while. But now let's take the best thing out of their hand. Probably the Swords to Plowshares. The Fire Ice is a little annoying because it can tap an Urza Saga to deny a token. Actually, maybe the Fire Ice is better. That's actually very tough. Take the Fire Ice. I value these Urza Saga construct tokens very highly right now. Like, they are just so very large. Well, fuck me. Alright. That's a hell of a top deck. I have green mana, at least, but... Ugh. Okay. So... that was something I was not prepared for and makes leaving them with Swords to Plowshares a very bad decision. Goodbye Narset, in case that ends up being relevant for, like, a Days Undoing type situation. Yeah, I am in an awful spot because of that top deck. Wow. Yeah, so they're going to try to just hit a land drop here. They don't have white mana right now, which is, like, the good news in the short term. That doesn't get white mana right now. And, sort of, in a cool turn of events, I do get to, like, keep multiple City of Traders here. Alright, get in there, Thought-Knots here. Here's to hoping that my opponent doesn't find the white mana that they need in order to remove this, because if they do, it's probably game over for me. They're not going to get a big enough shark that they are going to trade with this creature. Suppose in theory they can, like, shark plus a lightning bolt or something like that. Alright, they've just got mana up this turn. Not really expecting to lose this thing in combat. I would not be surprised to see a chump block this turn to preserve life total. Okay, it is another ice. Sure. I'm just going to hold this card in hand and see what my opponent can do. Ooh. Very nice. Hoping my opponent cycles the Shark Typhoon for a block this turn so I can attempt to safely resolve this Chariot. Do I cast it anyway? Into counter magic. I think I'm fine with that. I will play out my land before doing so, though, to better play around soft permission without using Lotus Petals. Alright, so here is the Force of Will. Pitching a Force of Will, that's fine. So this keeps my opponent from cycling the Shark Typhoon and getting another look at a land in this turn cycle. I am on board with. Let's battle in for 4. My opponent not willing to cycle the Shark Typhoon yet. And I'll just drop another Trinisphere into play. Assume this is this is the cycle Shark Typhoon. That's fine. So that is not the white mana my opponent needs. That sucks. We'll see if they have a second Shark Typhoon here to go and make some progress. Nope, it is a chump block situation, which is great for me. And I'll call it a turn there. Can't play this into the Blood Moon. See if my opponent's dead. They are dead. That got surprisingly scary because of that Blood Moon. I'm very glad that I added extra basics to this deck list. What am I looking to board in here? I like Choke. Pithing Needle for Shark Typhoon is cool. It also hits Narset. These are good. I can consider Force of Vigor to have an out to Blood Moon. I also do just have a couple of Bosages, though, so I don't know that I, like, need those. Crucible of Worlds to recur Urza's Saga is definitely cool. Like, this is going to be a long matchup. I can also consider playing Sorcerous Spyglass just as another way to shut off Shark Typhoons. Doesn't, like, fully stop them, because my opponent can just, like, hard cast them when they do get to 6 mana, so, like, that's a thing. How do I feel about Chalice in this matchup? It's fine. It's just fine. Like, shutting off Swords to Plowshares is cool, but Prismatic Endings and probably, like, Teferis and general things of that nature are going to mean that they get swept up in some bullshit some portion of the time. There's also just, like, one more thing that eats a Meltdown. Might board Chalice out on the draw here. How's this thing? Does hit Planeswalkers, which is relevant, but it's a little expensive. What do I feel about, like, something like this? I think I definitely want these. Like, recurring Urza Saga is clutch in a matchup that's going to go this long. And it's a question of, like, do I want Sorcerous Spyglass or Force of Vigor? Force of Vigor shutting off my Thought-Knot Seer, or Blood Moon shutting off my Thought-Knot Seers is kind of rough. I think I want these more. Like, the Chokes and Spyglasses are replacing my Chalices for this matchup. That's probably good enough to be a keep. It's a little bit of a strange hand, but, like, I have the stuff that I need to be productive. A shit ton of Lotus Petals. I probably want to play out one to play around a Daze. Possible I'm supposed to play out a second to play around Spell Pierce as well. A little worse to play those out if Meltdown specifically were to happen. Ooh, fuck. Oh, wow. Opponent does... Awkward. Very awkward, actually. Fuck, Stony Silence and Blood Moon in the opener. Looks like a Chariot doesn't get crewed this game. Now I need Force of Vigor. Okay. I'm gonna name Shark Typhoon and make it harder for my opponent to actually end the game. Very unhappy about everything going on with his hand now, though. Like, I can use triple Lotus Petal to power up Crucible, and my opponent goes like, okay. And then, like, I'm so screwed. I don't like this. I don't even know that my opponent needs to Force a Will this. Like, they have the Blood Moon to stop Urza Saga in hand. They are going to do it, though. That's fine. My opponent is just going to, like, Slam Tundra, play Stony Silence, and then, like, this card loses so much gas, which is why I was willing to burn triple Lotus Petal on Crucible. Alright, there's the Tundra. There's the Stony Silence. Alright. I'll just be passing my turn here. Those Force of Vigors need to come in next game. Am I going to get punished by you top decking Narset? Can I get punished for this choice? No, it's just Blood Moon time. Air quotes, just. Okay. Life's bad. So, do I want 2/2/2s right now? Or do I want 1/2/2 right now and 2 more 2/2s in the future? I think I want to maximize the value that I am getting out of my cards rather than to maximize the speed that I am getting. My opponent's removal is off currently, or at least most of it, because they do not have access to white. Alright, so they have found a mountain. That's fine. Ooh. So that's another card that I can just play this turn. So I will go ahead and do so. And we'll shut off our sit. Call it a turn. Admittedly, my opponent's cantrips are going to get worse by shutting off all these various cards. Alright, little Elvish Spirit Guide that could. I am looking for a 4th land to cast the Chariot. My Thought-Knot Seer is probably not going to be castable this game. Alright, so we're now in the realm where the Shark Typhoon just becomes castable, and it is, like, still absolutely a problem. Okay, cool. Opponent is F6'd. Opponent might have a handful of white cards. I choke not looking great this game. admittedly. Nice. Getting my forest iced or my elvish spirit guide iced. Getting my forest iced, sure. Which does keep me from playing a card this turn. I will continue to bash for 2. My opponent to 10. Drop a city. Call it a turn. We're not doing a whole lot of stuff right now. Okay, cool. Alright, I am getting to actually go to combat and bash in. Drops my opponent to 8. I absolutely will attempt the Chariot, despite the fact that my opponent has mana up. I am expecting them to have mana up for most of the rest of the game. Force of Will pitching a Fire Ice, absolutely. That's fine. So we're just kind of hoping to top deck 5% better than my opponent here. Okay. They have access to blue now, so a card like Jace could be online. Ooh, that's good. In you go, little elf spirit. Opponent drops to 5. Attempt the unlicensed Hearse. Timing, not quite what I want it to be. Alright, so they are going to go for a Fire Ice. I assume they're just going to shoot this Elvish Spirit Guide down. Interesting. Oh, right, the Stony Silence is there. Yeah, so the Elvish Spirit Guide trades with the Snapcaster Mage. I can get this Stony Silence out of play somehow, like by drawing a Boseiju. This card is absolutely sick. Okay, they have hit another island land drop. What do I have in terms of removal? Basically nothing. Basically nothing, because I think I boarded that out. That just means I'm making this trade at some point. I guess I'd rather force it now when my opponent has to trade away the creature than have them just like use removal on this and then still have the Snapcaster around later to protect a Planeswalker or start pressuring my life total or something. Yeah, but not having true colorless mana because of Blood Moon here is rough. Also, if I drew a Boseiju, I think it goes after the Blood Moon that my Urza Sagas are live draws. Yep. Worried that my opponent just wins this one. Like, it's gonna take a while, but fuck me. Yeah, definitely going after Blood Moon given the opportunity. Alright. Cool. My opponent's top decks are probably better than mine right now. I mean, it's show me counterspell time, right? Like, I am fine with this. I don't know what percentage of my opponent's cards in hand are things like counterspells versus just white cards that are stuck in their hand. Okay, cool. We're gonna get some cats. Alright, cool. Opponent's got something for end of turn. A wear, absolutely. Like, interesting that my opponent wears that rather than like the Trinisphere. I don't know, I guess they have enough like bonus mana where that's not an issue. But like the Chariot by itself here kind of innately does nothing. I don't know. Although I guess if I remove the Stony Silence, it's like disastrous for them. So like there's that. They could also just have a Snapcaster Mage or something. All right, opponent is at 1. I have 2 cats. What do they have? Also, other than like wearing the Shark Typhoon as well. Okay. I don't think I was on the right side of that matchup there. Like my opponent's cards felt absolutely damning versus me, but like scoreboard, right? I have a weird round 2 opening hand. So, like, I have a lot of disappearing fast mana that I can use to power out this Urza Saga. But I'm not really sure that this is a keep because, like, the hand just, like, basically does nothing if a Wasteland gets involved. And I'm not really interacting with my opponents. I think I can get other Urza Saga hands that are better than this. I think I'm just gonna mulligan this one. I think I'm on board for this one instead. I want to play Chalice of the Void on turn 1. These are legendary. I'll throw back one of those. And I think the speed here matters enough that I just do this. We're still going to be a little soft to a Wasteland here, but at least I have a lock piece in play this time, which is hopefully relevant. Will be pretty bad against another Ancient Tomb deck. Barbarian Ring? Let me just check the clock. Yeah, it is 2022, and that is a goddamn Barbarian Ring. Okay. I'm going to play a Mox Opal. I'm going to play my own Urza Saga, and we're going to do some construct fights. I think my opponent is potentially going to be favored here because, like, they have access to wastelands that, like, can very much strip the power of my hand. Oh, I don't like this pause. Okay. It's not as bad as what I was expecting here. Alright, yep. We'll just plan on making some Urza Saga tokens, passing the turn. See what my opponent ends up going for in terms of an Urza Saga tutor target. Be playing like a currency converter deck. There's their token. This is the point where I have to respond and make my own critter. Now, notably, this will turn on Mox Opal. And I do want to draw your attention to Esika's Chariot's text. This is whenever it attacks, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. So while we are traditionally going to get a cat, that's not what has to happen. So here's their Urza Saga activation. And they're about to turn their constructs into 4/4. A Pithing Needle might shut off my Urza Saga. Oh, it's just another Mox Diamond. Buff the team. If they have a Life from the Loam, it would be pretty damning for them to return, like, their Urza Saga and just continue to do that. Alright, their 4/4 crashes in. I'm just gonna absolutely just eat that damage. That's fine. Okay, there's a Sylvan Library. It's not necessarily immediately good, but it's pretty legit in the future. I will go 2 mana to make my construct. If I were to grab a Mox Opal, I could make an Esika's Chariot this turn. What else do I have access to in the main deck? Soul Guide Lantern, Pithing Needle, Shadow Spear. I don't mind Soul Guide Lantern. Or sorry, I don't mind Shadow Spear, I don't think. Like, Pithing Needle for Thespian Stage is sort of attractive, but so is just gaining a shit ton of life and dealing with Merilage in that capacity. I think I'm going to do this. Play City of Traders. Equip this to the one that can attack. I think I'm good with playing a Chalice on 0. Just to grow my creatures here. And bash in for 7. This just puts a lot of pressure on my opponent. And the trample means that, like, chump blocks aren't necessarily good. Be attacking with an 8/8 and a 7/7 next turn in all likelihood. I think if I didn't have a Chalice on 1 in play, I would be much more likely to just grab Pithing Needle for Thespian Stage. Okay, that's an interesting choice. That's fine. Okay, so that Mox Opal's not doing a lot here. Chalice in play. Am I fine trading a construct for a construct here? I think so. I think I'm good with that since I have the Chariot as a follow-up play. I can't do it immediately, but I have it. Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you, that was not on my radar as something to play around. Okay. That was rough. What a savage fucking blowout. Yeah, okay. I can't play my Chariot here. Mox Opal is off due to my own Chalice. So I'm chilling. That absolute fucking disaster. Wow. Alright, looks like they're gonna take a little damage off of Sylvan Library to get deeper here. First strike counter on the Urza Saga token. Like, are we actually playing against a 4-color Loam variant rather than a lands variant? It's sure starting to feel that way. Yeah, it is actually 4-color Loam rather than red lands. I think I'm dead. Like, I think I am going to just concede here. I guess Ancient Tomb means that I have a chance of playing this Chariot and doing cool stuff with it. I could also just, like, kill my opponent with Bob in theory, but opponent has to fuck up for that to be the case. Alright. There's a land drop, but that might clear the top of the library in some cases, making the Bob card random. Ancient Tomb has a real cost as well. Alright. Green Sun? Green Sun for Remnep Excavator basically kills me. Oh, okay. Yeah, so they could have played that differently. They could have like Green Sun for Ramunap if they have one Wasteland me, and then I'm just donezo. They'll think this just beats me. Hold on, does this do anything with artifacts? I will go down to 8 if I do this. Maybe I don't want to show this card. I haven't shown one of these yet, right? I think I am likely enough just absolutely dead to this that I just concede here rather than show this card because it's a weird card. I definitely want Crucible. Glass is okay. Dismember is okay. I don't think Leyline's good enough. I think I'm going to go Chalices out for some amount of this stuff and then probably trim. Oh, I have Chokes as well. JK. So this is 5 cards, and then Chalice is just, like, not good. My opponent's a Chalice deck as well. A play, like, randomly drawing one is not the worst thing in the world, but it's not feel good. I might just play a random Force of Vigor or 2 to round things out. Like, Force of Vigor is potentially better than Trinisphere. I don't think this is the sort of deck that I want to play against. Turn 1, Forest, pass. Turn 2, City, Thought-Knot Seer. Unlicensed Hearse after that. Kind of a medium hand, but I think I'll keep it. Right, they mulliganed to 6, but ultimately kept their hand. There's also some worlds where I just play Unlicensed Hearse on turn 2. Especially if my opponent does anything graveyard-oriented. Ooh. I want to do that now? I don't know that I want to do that now. I don't like super want to play out City of Traders and have it get wastelanded. Thought-Knot Seer is the better the earlier I play it. Might just be Mech Hanger Hearse pass. And just try to get this wastelanded rather than a more valuable land. Okay, there is a fetch. See what my opponent can do with their turn. Wild. Sure. Yeah, that's fine. I have a Dismember for that Valky, so like it's really not a big deal. Fine. That Windswept Heath at the end of turn. Okay, now if I use my Spirit Guide, I can both Dismember and play Thought-Knot Seer this turn. But that makes my Urza Saga a little more awkward in the future. I don't know about that decision. Just gonna ride the Urza Saga train here. I will dismember this now though, before like Caracas randomly comes into play and can bounce it. Now, Unlicensed Hearse does target from a single graveyard, FYI, so I can't just like grab both of these cards with a single interaction. All right, there's a Thespian Stage, sure. And a Knight of the Reliquary. That's still a fine card because it represents Dark Depths, which is bad for me. But as far as like the size of that creature itself, that aspect is covered. Ooh, that is a very good draw here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I use the Spirit Guide, or I can just play City of Traders. I just don't want my opponent to get Dark Depths, and I think that's worth giving up some onboard value for. I think I'm going to use my Spirit Guide to not play my Disappearing Land yet. All right. Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, FYI, I know I do have multiple vehicles that I can't necessarily crew here, but this is a thing. Goodbye, Knight. And we'll pass the turn. Next turn, I'll make an Urza Saga token and kind of figure out where I'm going from here. I will probably grab Pithing Needle for Thespian Stage off of Urza Saga. Although there's some worlds where I end up just getting a Mox Opal instead. Okay. Thespian Stage is copying Urza Saga, sure. Not have any counters currently, or what that's worth. License Hearse is going to get big. I'll absolutely just take out those 2 cards. Fine, and then I can tap this again to get rid of the Life from the Loam itself. Okay, so let's go 1, 2. Make my Saga token. I think I'm just going to go ahead and Pithing Needle Urza Saga. Got that off. Now I think I'm good with playing a Trinisphere. What's the crew value on this? 3, sure. Let's go 3 mana. Play a Trinisphere. Get rid of that Life from the Loam. through the Sky Sovereign and bash in. So there we go. That is a lot of damage. This is creature or planeswalker. This cannot go to face. Is like why all of that happened the way that it did. Got a lot of incoming damage next turn. That's fine. I will kill that with Sky Sovereign. Okay with me. My Lotus Petal got worse because of my Trinisphere. So let's go ahead. Play a Thought-Knot Seer now. See if I actually do get to take a card. I get to take a Plague Engineer. Go ahead and crew this with the Thought-Knot Seer. Go to combat. Crash in with these. Kill the token. Opponent takes 11 going to 2. And I have very much the ability to kill my opponent next turn. So note that the ability here is a discard, then draw. So it's not just like a free roll, just immediate draw 2. I don't imagine my opponent's getting out of that. That was a very dominating performance, that game. I don't think I'm going to change anything about sideboarding. So this can be turn 1, City, Pithing Needle, Wasteland, Opal, and kind of get stuck. I don't really think this hand's keepable. Nope. Yeah. It's gonna be a keep. Have to get rid of Force of Vigor. If I keep Lotus Petal, I can go turn 1 Tomb, turn 2 City of Traders. Or sorry, turn 1 Tomb Petal, Trinisphere, turn 2 City, Thought-Knots here. That's a powerful opener. I think I'm just going to take that. I am uber dead to Wasteland, though. Like, holy shit. It will be bad. Okay. Bob's legit. Bob gets slowed down by Trinisphere in some ways. Trinisphere versus Sorcerer's Spyglass on Wasteland immediately. I'm so dead to Wasteland, but I think if I play Sorcerer's Spyglass on Wasteland, my opponent can just use their mana to beat me anyway. So I think I am going to stick with my original plan of playing out the Trinisphere and hoping that fucks with my opponent in a very meaningful way. Like, I will lose the game to a Wasteland on this land. Like, I accept that based on this line. Yep. Every time. But I think what I did was correct. Like, there was something that absolutely beats me, but I don't think playing around that puts me into a situation where I'm actually winning, because my opponent is just going to get fed cards by Bob. And I think taking that turn off there and, like, not decreasing their mana efficiency just, like, leaves me in an awful spot. This is bad. I think I am ready to just concede the game here. On Construct, sure. Yeah, that's fine. Like, I don't regret my choice. It didn't work out. That's okay. Alright, round 3. What are we doing? Hi, have a great game. You too. I'm afraid of being comboed off. Alright, Forest, Petal, Opal, Hearse on turn 1. Probably Trinisphere on turn 2 with Urza Saga. Like, kinda whatever. My opponent's playing Degenerate Combo and I drop an early Trinisphere. Maybe that's good. I think I'll keep this. It's possible, though, that this isn't strong enough. I am going to play these out. It makes me slightly worse versus Prismatic Ending, but slightly better versus things like Chalice. Also a bit of a wild opener in terms of, like, it's kind of hard to tell what I'm doing unless you have seen the specific deck list recently. Feels like Doomsday. The cards Thought-Knot Seer and Trinisphere will be pretty respectable here. Freeze and rocks, huh? Freeze and rocks. Opponent says feels sus. Alright, Urza Saga this turn. Urza Saga this turn. Alright, there we go. And then let's see if the 3-ball resolves. Opponent could, like, daze this. Okay, it has resolved. Now, that doesn't necessarily beat a Doomsday on its own, but it is a very good start. And then as of next turn, my Mox Opal can be on, which is nice because I want to work towards that 4th mana for Thought-Knot Seer specifically. That Opal's not really a good draw at this point. I'm going to make a construct this turn, and then next turn, I probably won't make a construct, and I'll just play a Thought-Knot Seer instead. Alright, so opponent obviously has no end of turn play here because I have a Trinisphere in play. And we'll see if they have the Doomsday here. Blue, blue, blue. Oh, cool. It's just a Ponder. Hell yeah. Alright, end step. Activate this. This is going to turn on Mox Opal, so that will give me my 4th mana. And I think I'm just playing Thought-Knot Seer this turn. Yeah, I think I'm just going to play Thought-Knot Seer. Pithing Needle. Pithing Needle, like a Street Wraith, is okay. Also just Pithing Needle, a fetch land blind, but that seems eh. Alright. Let's shut off some Street Wraiths. And go the 4 mana for a Thought-Knot Seer. And see what we get to take with the trigger. Ha 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 ha! Oh, that's good. Alright, we'll take the Personal Tutor here. Cool, cool. That was a hell of a hit. Opponent says, I can hear the comment section cheering on naming Street Wraith. Absolutely. Absolutely going to happen. Alright, opponent drops to 15. And I have a very strong clock now. Opponent's having a good time today. Alright, there's the Strand. That's a Lotus Petal. That doesn't do me a lot of good. So I am going to play an unlicensed Hearse here just to increase the size of this by 1. I'll bash in for 9. Put my opponent to 6. Call it a turn. And then in their upkeep, I'm going to go ahead and eat both Ponders. Just on the off chance that, like, they're playing Murktide Regent as a pivot plan. I want to make that less good. Getting game 1 here feels really important. I don't think this matchup is necessarily going to be easy. I like Mindbreak Trap and Choke. Spyglass technically has text in the same way that Pithing Needle technically has text, but isn't particularly good. Probably going Soul Guide Lantern out here. That doesn't feel particularly strong. Probably going Sky Sovereign out for being slow. And then, like, Pithing Needle and Shadow Spear are kind of whatever. The life gain's not super relevant unless there's a Murktide Regent pivot plan. Crucible Wasteland's not crazy either. Get rid of this. And then I don't know what my last card to cut is. Like, it's not like Chariot is insane or anything, but I don't want to cut too many threats. Like, can't cut those. Can't cut those. Can't cut these. Hearse versus Chariot. I could probably cut a Hearse here. That is a turn 1 choke if I want it. Also, a turn 2 Thought-Knots here in some other worlds. This is probably fine. To be fair, I also think this one can be a mulligan. Like, it does some interesting things. But the mana's a little awkward. Like, if I want to use the City of Traders Acceleration on 1. But, like, it has 2 different relevant hate cards. Oh, just now, huh? Okay. There's a very good chance Choke does disgusting things here. Just City Spirit Guide Choke. Opponent is expecting to be able to use that Underground Sea for mana. Okay, I'm just kind of looking at this here. So there's an LED, so they're not doing a, like, consider pile. I like drawing that Ancient Tomb. So, like, Street Wraiths and Edge of Autumns are still down here. I think this choke is correct. Alright. There's a choke. And I have Thought-Knot Seer backing it up next turn. Ooh. That force is very good. I'll play out a Mox Opal. I can't use it for mana right now. I don't have Metalcraft. Depending on what that last card in my opponent's hand is. Oh. That's what we're doing. Okay. I get to Pithing Needle that. That's not a problem. Absolutely get wrecked. By playing Urza Saga, I'm probably just playing Back Hanger this turn. I don't really have relevant Urza Saga tutor targets, and I want to play Thought-Knot Seer next turn. Yeah, let's just play Mech Hanger this turn. And play Pithing Needle on Shelldock Isle. Alright, so I've shut that off. Isn't on. Call it a turn there, and then hopefully my opponent doesn't also have an Oracle kill this turn. Okay, there's an end of turn Brainstorm. So that means that they could Oracle me. Let's see if that's their current card. Fuck, it is. Damn, and I don't have a removal spell to do anything about that. Yeah, so I played around, like, I played something that stopped them, I played something that stopped them, and they got me the third time. Okay. Knowing about that plan, Sorceress Spyglass becomes a little better. And they said, not this time, Pithing Needle. Yeah, that's fair. I think Unlicensed Hearse is going to come out, and I think I'll drop down one Chariot, just trying to be more hateful. The game on the play, obviously, is much better for me. Alright, let's see what this opening hand looks like. This is a turn 2 choke. But I don't actually think this hand is better than just slamming something on turn 1. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I'm on the play, or rather try to. This is probably an acceptable 6-card hand. It does a lot of powerful things starting on turn 2. Question is, like, do I just get rid of my green mana? Or do I get rid of, like, the Urza Saga? I could also get rid of the redundant Trinisphere. Maybe I get rid of the redundant Trinisphere, because, like, I'm going to play Trinisphere into Thought-Knot Seer just about every time anyway. There's also a world where I just play Urza Saga on turn 1, ignoring the tokens, and just work towards getting a Pithing Needle starting right now. I think I like that. A little bit of a weird use of my resources, but I think I like it. I'm not super great against just, like, immediate Dark Ritual into thing. Ooh. I want a Chalice on 0? Stop LED-based lines? I don't hate it since I am about to play Trinisphere. How our opponent feels about that, I assume it's fine. Longish pause, but they were ultimately fine with it. Let's attempt a Trinisphere. Okay, there is a Force of Negation pitching a Personal Tutor. So I have a Thought-Knot Seer and a Pithing Needle next turn. Doomsday historically lines up pretty well versus these Chalice decks. Like, your Disruption never stops a Doomsday kill, right? Like, they can eventually just play around a Trinisphere. Chalice of the Void doesn't counter Thassa's Oracle because Cavernous Souls can get involved. Stopping the cantrips only slows them down for so long. Okay, your Duress is going to whiff. And I wish I could play this Thought-Knot Seer prior to doing other things here. Make a Construct token. Get Opal. Opal is on. City of Traders, pitch Spirit Guide, Thought-Knot Seer. Is that better than Blind Pithing Needle? That might be better than Blind Pithing Needle. It just puts on more pressure. I am going to do that. Alright, just double check my math here. 1 mana, 2, 3 mana, 4 mana. I have Colorless. Yes, I like that. Alright, so there we go. Okay, I'm back. My opponent disconnected for a little while there. So the game plan was grab a Mox Opal. There's Opal. 1, 2, 3. And then Spirit Guide will be the 4th. And here's to taking a Doomsday. Oh, what the fuck? That sucks. I guess I take the Force of Will here. Like, they've got a Doomsday either way. I'll get that out of the way. I have 7 damage showing for next turn. They're going to fetch to 18, go down to 9. The Street Wraiths can't really be a part of the pile. LED and Lotus Petal can't be part of the pile. Edge of Autumn can. Brainstorm can. 1 fetch land can. They are not going for it here. Guess if they get whacked for 7, they go to 12, they'll still end up at 6. Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. Alright, there's a bash for 7. Dropping them to 12. Go 3 mana post-combat. And cast a Spirit Guide. And we'll see if my opponent can play Doomsday and go off in the same turn. Because now I have enough pressure that Hurkyl's Recall is fine. Is still lethal if they cast a Doomsday and pass the turn. Alright, they are passing the turn here. Chariot. Chariot will have Summoning Sickness. I'm hit my opponent for 6. Let's just start there. Alright, there we go. Now the question becomes, what does this Chalice go on? I think the Chalice goes on 2 for Oracle, forcing a Cavern of Souls pile. And I think I play this out to play around a Daze effect. I'd do it on 3 if I could, but I'm 1 mana short. I don't have enough artifacts. All right, there is the attempt on Chalice on 2. And there is Mox Opal. Opponent is facing down a tough board state. I don't know, maybe it's possible that Chalice is supposed to go on 1. I think I could have played Chalice on 1 and Chariot, and then that stops like Dark Ritual-based lines from being good. But this forces a Cavern of Souls pile, and they can't do a pass the turn. Yeah, opponent says GG. Top deck did not help. GG. I'm not 100% sure, but they might have had better luck in this game building a pass the turn Doomsday pile earlier on. I don't know every single ins and outs of their exact deck list. Yeah, opponent says maybe I should have cast Doomsday before the smartass Hurkyl. Yep. They request thoughts from the comment section. Have a great start in the week and stay safe. You too. And there is the formal concession of the opponent. We are now 2-1. Hey folks, Phil here for a quick announcement. Because of the support you all have given me over the last couple of years in particular, I'm able to be a full-time content creator over the summer. I'll still be teaching normally during the school year, but I won't be working a summer job to instead focus on my content. So expect to see more YouTube videos over the summer, as well as some guest appearances on other streams and things like that. If you are looking for ways to support me, these are some of the things you can do. But most importantly, just keep watching the content. You know, if these numbers keep up, who knows, maybe in another year or two, this will be a full-time thing instead of a summer thing. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. All right, round 4. I'm on the play here. I only have 2 starting mana. Don't think that's gonna quite be stable enough here. I think I keep this one. I don't think I YOLO turn 1 choke. I think I keep all the fast mana, though, and throw back the hanger. I don't know, like, this one's really a question of, like, hard call is my opponent on blue. This might be an MTG goldfish moment. See if my opponent has a history of playing the same thing over and over again. Mono blue decks in their history. Okay. Yep. Alright. Alright. It's possible throwing back Urza Saga is better than throwing back Mech Hanger there. Alright. Land. Petal. Just slam a Chalice on 1 immediately. And follow it up with a turn 2 choke. Ooh. Okay. Hand not looking good, folks. Hand not looking good. We are absolutely dead to this shit. Until my opponent shows me blue, I'm going to assume that they are not actually blue. And call that good. And like, oh fuck. Life's bad. Oh. I see. And I guess I'm playing the Urza Saga and passing the turn. Choke's not doing me a lot of good here. Chalice on 0 is probably not doing a ton of good, and I might need, like, petals at some point in this game if I just get stuck on mana. I wonder if my opponent is playing, like, honest-to-goodness Mud. Wow. Yeah, opponent might be playing straight-up Mud. Sure. That's a coding. I'm going to lose to that. Just very strong here. Yeah, so that's acting as another Rishadan port this turn. So I can play this out and make a 2/2 artifact token. I'm not going to play out this other Chalice because I don't want my opponent to know about it immediately. It's like it's going to increase the size of my construct and may mess with some of their Karn-based plays. Yeah. I'll float my mana. That'll use to make my construct token. Yeah. And then I'll make it. Okay. Are we going for a bridge? Ratchet bomb. Okay. Would say that's pretty bad for me. No point in me making another construct token. Just going to die to a ratchet bomb activation. That's interesting. Oh. I wonder if I fucked up and then my opponent fucked up. But yeah, my opponent fucked up. This is gonna hit ratchet bomb. Just stop that from being a thing. I'm going to attack and kill Karn. I'm thinking about this mana. I don't think I want to use this turn. I can only target an opponent controls, right? Just double checking myself. Yes. I'm going to go ahead and let that mana go. Attack and kill Karn. And I might have just fully swung this game. And now this can be activated again. Do I want to play this as a land drop? I don't think so. I think I can chill here. Okay. That Boseiju is going to be clutch at dealing with that. Sure. Before my opponent can copy this, I should probably just blow up the Urza Saga. Target Urza Saga. I do have to pitch the Spirit Guide to take this line. And we'll see if my opponent has, like, a random Wastes or a green source or anything. They do not. Mono greed lands. I am just going to play a Choke to increase this to a 4/4. I would like to end this game ASAP. And my mana is going to get choked off pretty considerably. There is yet another stage. And I assume I'm going to get upkeep ported. Indeed. There's a Chariot that will probably never cast. I am just looking to make 3 more attacks after this one and end the game. Like, that's it. That's the plan. I'm not, like, 100% all in on this construct token, but it's pretty close to that. Trinisphere, totally fine. It does save them a point of life here, admittedly. I'll bash in for 4. 2 attacks remain. See if my opponent, like, copies either their port or their own City of Traders here. Yeah. Kind of expected that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Yeah, they're running on empty. They've just, like, given up porting me, which is lazy. I mean, like, it is what it is, but, like, if you are going to continue to play the game, like please play optimally. All right, honest to goodness Mud, it looks like. So my chokes are dead cards are very close to it. Force of Vigor is an auto include. Sorcerer Spyglass is an auto include, as is Crucible of Worlds. Dismember is maybe okay depending on what actual creatures they play. Like, Mud right now is not common, so I don't know, like, what the remainder of their deck list is going to look like. But I have, like, Trinispheres and Chalices that are both going to be pretty bad, so the more cards that I can board in that are not these things, probably the better for me. Chalice being the worst of them, probably. So that gets me these, and I'm going to play a couple of these. Means my Urza Saga Construct tokens are going to be a little smaller on average, but I think that's fine. So, turn 1 land, turn 2 land, pedal. Not to Thought-Knots here immediately. I do have a Force of Vigor in hand. And essentially all I'm looking for with this hand is like a soul land or another mana source for this hand to be pretty reasonable to good. I think I'm just going to keep this one. Like, maybe I'm wrong for doing that. Map is fine. I'm good with that. I'm not going to fuck around with Force of Vigor on that. I will, however, play out my artifact mana now. Play a land. Call it a turn there. Wasteland's kind of whatever. And again, we'll just kind of chill. I've got things I'm working towards. Yep. Land go. And we'll see end of turn map for maybe a cloud post. I didn't see any actual posts last game, but it kind of feels like that's what's out there. Oh, they're just going for a wasteland. Okay. There's a world where I both Seiju that land right now, but I think I just want to use this as a land drop. I need to work towards 4 mana, and my opponent is just like knocking me off mana again. That's fine. I will just keep playing mech hangers all day, every day. Mono mech hanger control. My opals do get a little worse with me boarding down a bunch of, ooh. That is going to have to get destroyed. I think I use a force pitching Esika's Chariot so I can keep this as a land. Target that. Pitch the Chariot, keep the other one of these with the intention of eventually hard casting it. Ooh. Fine with that. I think I want to play this one this turn. This is 3 mana right now, 4 mana when I play Urza's Saga. Will get me a Thought-Knot Seer, hopefully taking one of the bigger pieces in my opponent's hand. Oh, that's annoying. I mean, that's also annoying. That shuts off his artifact mana. Alright. Another Crucible. Okay. I suspect that I am beaten here. Because this is just like Crucible Wasteland, and then I just get kind of like stuck, and I can't cast this Force of Vigor right now, and I can't pitch cast it either. I don't know, maybe I should have like more aggressively gone after that Ancient Tomb with the Boseiju. It is what it is. Yeah. Alright, blowing up my Lotus Petal. They can just Rishadan port me this turn rather than actually Wasteland me. Like, there's not a strong need to do that here. There's a Hearse that I cannot activate. My Urza Sagas are indefinitely covered. I think I'm going to go ahead and concede this game. That's fine. Let's just move on to the next one here. My Mox Opals are definitely a little bit worse with like some number of Chalices and Trinispheres gone. I think that is what it is. I don't think I board in Leylines, so I don't think any of this is actually changing. Alright, here we go. Can play a turn 1 Thought-Knot Seer as a YOLO option. And then, like, my City of Traders is going to disappear. I just kill my opponent in 5 attacks if I take their best card. Like, conceptually, what do I want to do here? Like, my lock pieces are kind of whatever. Oh, no, in Microsoft Edge, no one in the history of ever has actually wanted to open you. Okay. Fuck it, YOLO, let's go. This is fast. Spirit Guide. Thought-Knot Seer, attempt to pick apart the hand. And I don't care about a lot of things that my opponent can do. I do unfortunately care about that Urza Saga that can make blockers. Am I taking the Mox Diamond that makes the Urza Saga construct tokens bigger? Or am I just taking that Karn that represents like an ensnaring bridge that I can't really beat ever as of right now? I think I take the Karn. The intention of dismembering the first token that's played. Be kind of how opponent approaches their turn here. They can just ramp this turn. They can play like Ancient Tomb, Mox Diamond, discard something, play Serum Powder out if they want to work towards top decking big plays. Alright, opponent sat there and thought for a long time and then ultimately played Urza's Saga. That Sorcerer's Spyglass is a very good draw for me. I'm going to go ahead and bash in with Thought-Knot Seer. Get my opponent to 16. Dismiss this. Play Sorcerer's Spyglass. Fuck, they just drew Ensnaring Bridge. That sucks for me. Alright, well, I'm going to name Urza Saga. That is an absolutely damning draw. Okay. So I'm going to stop them from getting constructs off of this, but this Mox Diamond is going to allow them to empty out their hand, as is like this Serum Powder. So I am not going to be able to go all the way with this Thought-Knot Seer. And they are much better at winning from behind a bridge than I am. Very unlucky for me, as there are very few cards in their deck that I actually care about. Oh. Wow. Not expecting them to do that. I'm always bashing in for 4. And then I'm going to have to take a look at my deck list to see if I care about anything for Urza's Saga purposes. It's a disappearing land. I can start working towards a Pithing Needle for Karn. That's probably important. Let's do that. I need my opponent to not be able to tutor with that Karn. Okay, opponent found a Retrofitter Foundry after thinking for a while. Another Pithing Needleable card. Okay, my opponent has played out Ensnaring Bridge, done a Mox Diamond, discarding an Ancient Tomb. Sure. So this doesn't get to attack anymore. So life's currently pretty bad. I clicked that away. That means I don't get to Pithing Needle this. That's not great. So basically, I'm looking to draw a green card plus Force of Vigor at this point. Fine. There's green card, so that's the first half of the equation. Now, in good news, opponent does have an Ancient Tomb that will eventually be not okay to tap. And City of Traders similarly is a disappearing land. Fuck me. I think I am going to lose if I don't draw Force of Vigor or Sorcerous Spyglass this turn. Alright, there is a coding. I'm going to be down a green source for this turn. Another Urza Saga. I am going to go ahead and concede here. I'm not going to beat this whole Liquid Metal Karn and Snaring Bridge situation. GG's. Alright, final round. I think I'll be keeping my hand here. The only question will be, like, how do I sequence this? Because I have a few different lock pieces. I recognize my opponent's username. Play a little bit of everything. Most recently Reanimator, but doesn't necessarily mean a ton. I'm always playing out Lotus Petal this turn. And I think I'm just jamming Trinisphere this turn off Ancient Tomb. I think I'm good with that. I'm also going to use Spirit Guide. This leaves an extra artifact in play, which matters for some of like the Metalcraft Urza Saga type stuff. Alright. So, the next question is, like, do I just play Chalice right now and ignore my Soul Guide Lantern? I believe the answer is yes, after seeing Scalding Tarn. Alright, X is currently 1. Done, and that always resolves. So now I just need to draw a threat, and hopefully I have opponent locked out of the game. Oh! Sorry, we're having a moment. Alright, this will cost me the Lotus Petal because it's true green mana. Yeah. It resolves. So now basically opponent needs to slam some sort of like Murktide Regent-esque win condition. Yeah. Yeah, let's draw Thought-Knot Seer, Urza Saga, Chariot, something like that. Opponent says, how fun. I agree. I am very much enjoying myself. Yeah, there's a true win condition. Alright, cool. And I am going to tick the counters up on it. Ooh, and Thought-Knot Seer. So I would rather just make my Urza Saga Construct tokens and save the Thought-Knot Seer for later. Now, opponent notably is discarding Swords to Plowshares. So they are not just like full-on regular Delver. Alright. So let's go ahead and make a new construct here. My opponent is playing fucking sloppy. They didn't fetch in response to these, so I get to just Pithing Needle one of their lands. Okay, yep. Cool. Good stuff. Opponent discarded 3 Swords to Plowshares. So we're potentially looking at some sort of ledger, shreddery control deck. Like probably expressive iterations, ledger shredders, something of that general ilk. I'm going to know that I want choke, but until I have a better feel for like where on the like delver to hard control line my opponent is, some of the other nuance of this is going to be a little difficult to tell. So for example, if my opponent is on like ledger shredders, I probably want Dismemberer, and if they're not, I probably don't. I think not knowing exactly what my opponent's on, I'm just going to board in 2 chokes and call that good. And maybe board down 2 Trinispheres. I might go down 3 Trinispheres and play Crucible as well. Like, if my opponent's a control deck, Recurring Urza Saga is sick, and if they're Delver, Protection from Wasteland is sick. And by Delver, I really mean something Delver adjacent, not true Delver. I will keep this hand here. Okay. Again, a little bit of an ambiguous land. I think I'm just going to lead on Forest, Pithing Needle, Wasteland. I think I like that. I don't know, though. Like, maybe with this Crucible World here, I don't name that. Yeah, I just get a little saucy. Maybe I just get a little saucy. Gigantic fucking long pause. We hit. Alright, what do you got, opponent? Sure. Okay, there is an island. What did that first ponder do? There's no shuffle with the first one. Into no shuffle on the second one. This is going to be a Chalice on 1 situation. This is absolutely like dazeable and otherwise counterable. But I've got some good stuff going on, and I'm trying to set up for a powerful choke. That's fine. I'm hoping it does not find counter magic specifically. Damping Sphere, sure. I think I'm just going for choke here, folks. Like, setting back these 2 lands is probably really powerful. Not that, like, just getting an Urza Saga token isn't, but I don't know. Like, I feel Meltdown in my bones. I don't know, maybe Meltdown is an argument to just play Thought-Knots here. The choke is so good. I think the choke is too good to not attempt. Do you have a force? Force pitching expressive iteration. Sure, that's fine. Alright, there is a Narset minus for their turn. Just hitting a Brainstorm, which is kind of whatever. That's fine. I confirm. My City of Traders now makes 1 mana. That's okay. What do I want to get with this? Probably just a Mox. I'll have Metalcraft, so this can be 1, 2, 3. I think I'm just going to float mana here rather than make the construct. All right. There is a Mox Opal. Right, I have to remember Damping Sphere. Makes my artifact mana a little worse. I think I just want to jam one of these. Okay, nice. Ruination and the Wandering Emperor. Absolutely fucked up those Scalding turns, though. Ruination and Wandering Emperor are both not castable. And Ruination is not that scary if I have Crucible of Worlds. I think I just take the Brainstorm. Yeah. Now, I can't actually cast that. That costs 1. Yeah, this is fine. I can also just, like, play another Thought-Knots here next turn, take another one of those 4-drops. Sure. A choke. Very nice. I am going to poke the Narset to death. I think that is worth a set of attacks to do so. Let's continue to build my onboard presence here. Ooh, right. City only makes 1 mana right now. Play choke then. Just really stifle the power of these 4-drops. Like, give them a very real cost. Oh, I also took a Brainstorm while I had a Chalice of the Void in play. Oops. It's probably fine. I don't usually make mistakes like that one when playing Chalice decks. Usually pretty on it. This turn Chalice. I probably just play another Thought-Knots here. Yeah. I'll play Boseiju. Tap for a mana. Tap for a mana. Thought-Knots here. Horse pitching to Fairy Time Raveler. That's fine. We'll call it a turn there. This card's not, like, particularly good, but it is doing some annoying things for me here. Ancient Tomb. That still damages me. Alright. Crash in 4/4. It goes to 10. 1, 2, 3. Play Crucible of Worlds. Grab an Urza's Saga. Now I actually have an extra mana this turn, meaning that I can cast this Lotus Petal. Okay, seems like they don't have anything to do. Another forest is totally fine. Yeah, there is the concession, and I believe that means we end up 3-2 in the league. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I don't really feel like this is a particularly good deck, if I'm being honest with you. And I say that as someone who likes Chalice decks. I think there's a couple of deck building problems. I like the design that's here in terms of, like, I like the space that this is exploring, but I just, like, don't think the green's good. So I'm just, like, not overly sold that this is, like, a good legacy card. I don't think I ever successfully crewed one of these and attacked with it the entire league. A good portion of that was because I just, like, kept throwing this back in mulligans or pitching this to Force of Vigor. And on that note, there aren't very many cards to pitch for Force of Vigor, and green is a little tricky to get with this mana base. And not impossible, but tricky. I liked that I added extra basic forests to the deck. That was absolutely relevant in multiple rounds. But I don't think this deck is good to play right now. I think that the Kappa 8-cast decks and various Urza Saga decks mean that, like, people always are coming to the table with a plan for artifacts, and I don't feel like Chalice of the Void and Trinisphere are necessarily the best cards in this deck specifically, because your finishers are 4-drops. So if you are playing, like, these cards out early, and then you are not, like, immediately getting in with things like Goblin tokens, like you are seeing out of the Moon Stompy versions of this deck list, you are giving your opponents time to deal with these permanents or make extra land drops and lessening the power of your Trinisphere. Like, scoreboard says deck is fine. My gut says, like, you can do a lot of this vehicle stuff in a different color and probably just end up with a better deck. Although, admittedly, like, the mech hangers are very interesting with some of the stuff that's going on, like with Esika's Chariot specifically. So, like, there is that. But I wonder if you can just, like, be a red version of this deck that just has 4 copies of Unlicensed Hearse instead of these, and just, like, end up with something better. I don't have strong feelings about the sideboard. Like, the sideboard kind of is what it is. What I don't like about this deck list is that there's very few generic cards. So, like, every single thing that is in this right pile here is basically specialized or maybe situational. Like, a lot of these cards are not things you can just generically board in when, like, Chalice or Transfer or Choke are not good. So I don't really like the sideboard in that capacity. And oftentimes I try to run a few generically good cards in the sideboards of Chalice decks for this reason. So, like, for example, when we played against that Mud deck and when we played against the 4-color Loam deck, our Chalices and Trinispheres weren't particularly great, but we didn't have a ton of things to bring in to replace them with. So, like, deck list was fun to play, gameplay was interesting, but overall, I think this one gets, like, a slight thumbs down from me. Like, good deck to mess around with, very interesting design space, but ultimately, I don't expect this deck to be successful over time. Most of the green Chalice decks have kind of fallen out of favor. I messed around with various, like, Dinosaur Stompy decks a couple years back. Those were fun videos, but ultimately the decks tended to have problems in terms of flexibility, and I feel that same thing here. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, click the like button on the way out. If you have any thoughts, throw them in the comments. And if you want to try this one out or get one of your own decks on the channel, that information is available in the video description. Have a great rest of the day. See ya!